Hey everybody, Mark Johnson here, founder and creative director of Able Abe Studios, back again with another book review. In today's book review, I review the book called From There to Here. From There to Here. It is a collection of stories. This is kind of a niche kind of thing. This book is really niche in the sense that it's a book about 45 stories of people with spinal cord injuries. For those of you who don't know, I had a spinal cord injury back in 1994. I was in a car accident and I broke my neck and kind of left me what they call a quadriplegic. And I've been living that way since about 1994-95. And this book right here was recommended to me by my rehab doctor. And of course, in the sense that this is may not pertain to everybody, but for those who maybe stumble onto this channel and onto this this actual video, maybe it can help them. And so I'm just going to review it really quickly. I'm not going to go too in depth because again, it's not necessarily geared to the wide audience, but I think it was pretty interesting to kind of read this book, especially from my perspective, being a spinal cord injury and having some things that I can relate to and other things that I couldn't relate to with some of the stories in the book. It kept me interested in the sense that I had the same kind of things, and maybe I went through the same kind of issues that these people went through once they got once they had their injury. And for me, at first it was tough to read, because it took me back to that place and that time where life was very up in the air. I was an athlete. In high school I had my injury. I think senior year. I was playing all three sports: football, basketball, baseball. There was hope that it might go from there, from high school to maybe college, and hopefully to pros. Like in baseball or whatever. And so I had aspirations for some things, and I think having the spinal cord at that point in time really changed a lot of my life. I'm a young kid. I'm getting ready to graduate and just kind of move on from being a dependent to being someone who's independent. So for me, this book kind of peel back some of the layers of things that I kind of felt that I had been past and I didn't really want to go back to. So at first, about maybe 3/4 of the way through, maybe less than that, maybe about less than halfway through, I was really frustrated about reading these stories because I just didn't want to go back there. I didn't want to think about those things. I felt that I had outgrown them. But I think even on a deeper level, it was just because I just didn't want to relive those things. And I was, in a sense, reliving those issues at that time as I read each and every story. Not every story was a good story, in a sense, like it wasn't a happy ending. There's definitely a lot of anger and frustration from people in the stories that they told. I went through the same thing. I mean, I don't know what it's called, but it's like dealing with your grief, dealing with anger and that kind of thing. And the book, again, the stories differ so differently, but there's still this main kind of running theme that goes through everyone's story within the book, is that they have the accident. It comes out of nowhere. No one's expecting to end up in a wheelchair. And some have bright futures ahead of them. Some are just kind of getting by. But for whatever case, the injury comes out of nowhere. It shakes their lives up. Some of them are married already. Some of them are just about to get married. They're engaged. I think there was even one story where it was the same day of the wedding. And I can imagine how tough that would be. Your life is just totally changed. And people, like I said, they go through their stages, and there's a lot of loneliness. I went through that too. I'm in high school and I had my accident, and as much as I'm getting ready to graduate, everyone's moving on. I mean, they just kind of moved on from there. And there was time where I was just at my my parents' house, just trying to get by, just trying to keep sane. And this book kind of talks a lot about that. Some people, and again, another thing is that some people had their spinal cord injury before there was even hope that you could live. with the spinal cord injury. So, you know, they basically just kind of figure this person's going to be a vegetable. They're going to lay in bed all day. You know, obviously there's been improvements since Christopher Reeve and even beyond that. So it's kind of an interesting book. I figured I should share it because it kind of pertains to me, and again, hopefully it, you know, maybe can, you know, shed some light on another person, or for another person, or even someone who doesn't know anyone with a spinal cord injury. But this book can kind of talk to you about what that life is like, and give you a little insight on that. And so I felt that I should review this book in a little bit, in a little way, and you know, talk about my life in a sense too. This is kind of my introduction back to getting book reviews. I've been reading a lot of different books, and so I just kind of want to start to document them through YouTube videos. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, definitely subscribe. And if you want to comment on it, maybe you know, have a friend or a family member who's going through a spinal cord injury, maybe you can drop me a line, and maybe we can, you know, start a conversation, kind of, you know, just kind of talk about it a little bit, because I know talking about it has been helpful to me, and maybe it could be helpful for you or someone you know. So, like we always do at this time, have a blessed day. See you on the flip side. Let's go.